Hi, I'm Val. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be very brief. I'm here to talk to you about struggles with gardening. I've recorded some videos, but I don't think that I've posted them, so I'll dig around metaphorically and see if I can find some of that other content that is going to show you this space in different versions of it. But one of the things that I have always wanted as an adult was to kind of be able to grow my own vegetables, my own food. And that was like an exciting thing to do, to be able to um, like have a house, right? That's kind of like the dream of um, working and then being able to afford your home so that you have a space to do that. Now, granted, you can have a container garden or hydroponics on your kitchen counter or something like that, but what ended up happening with me is that I just was so busy all the time. So even as a professor who technically what they claim is like have summers off, that time was either spent kind of visiting family or traveling for a conference, and I just never really got around to um, that garden. The other problem was at certain times I was living in spaces in cities that weren't really conducive to the garden, and life just kind of kept pulling me in all of these other directions. So when I made that decision a few years ago to um, leave that career, as you can find in some of my other videos, one of the main goals was to have a garden, right? Because that was the dream of things that I hadn't been able to accomplish when I was working so many crazy hours condensed into that time and then even had that space, right? So, as a novice gardener, I have um, been challenged. And the depressing thing is that when you're on YouTube format, there are so many people showing you their garden. They've been gardening for a long time and everything is beautiful and lush. So it gets a little depressing when you can't, when you start something and then you basically have a weed garden. So one of the challenges of that I've encountered is figuring out what exactly is the enemy that I am battling. So when I first found this property, the woman that I bought the property from was an older lady, and she had a garden. So where I'm sitting right now actually was um, quote unquote raised beds, but like 6-inch pieces of wood in the ground. She had 9 beds. So she selected this particular location on the property, and then she also planted some fruit trees and things like that. So that was like super exciting, and one of my main um, like the most positive aspect of relocating to this property. What I didn't realize when I got here was that, um, you know, the maintenance of it. So I think that maybe she mowed so consistently that maybe she didn't have these problems. But what I've learned and what I'm encountering and why I'm sitting here on the ground on cardboard is that um, I can't really have the raised beds because they were rotting and weeds were growing underneath the wood and then popping out. So when I say weeds, what I've actually discovered is that I have a certain type of grass that um, I don't know if it's always been here or not. Somehow or other, it's showed up, but I think it's called Bermuda grass. I'm going to show you in a second. And this is a invasive species basically because it can um, grow deep roots and then it shoots out, and it's like I think that they call it crabgrass too. So it shoots out these long things and it can grow underneath and then pop up in really weird places. So what I was doing is, you turn around, it rains for 3 days. It doesn't rain at all, and then it rains for 3 days, and then all of a sudden you have a jungle over all of your vegetables. So I basically have had to like rip everything out and start over again. And some of the research that I did on this type of grass originally was saying you need to like cover and smother the grass. So, one of the things that I decided to do, because that actually was not working, was that originally I just kind of like threw down some plastic, bad idea, and some basic like just pieces of cardboard, but it was smaller pieces so that it just was really overgrown. So here we are. It's actually Christmas Day 2024. I decided to make this video today because I've been working out here the last couple of days and it is unusually warm. It's in the 60 degrees Fahrenheit. 2 years ago, this exact same day, it was 0 degrees for several days. So apparently, this particular grass that is invasive, the it can grow its roots so deep that it actually goes below like the frost and the freeze line, and it also can survive through droughts. So we've had this really weird extreme temperatures and droughts and a variety of things over the past few years that this has become a nuisance problem. So let me just take you on a little tour just to show you what I'm doing and how I'm trying to make a commitment to myself and then to you if you start following me, to make more regular content about my progress. So I am going to also pick up my Forest Fridays video starting in the new year. And if you watch my video about water and my water life philosophy, I feel like since June I've just kind of been like bombarded by lots of waves of life happening to me, and I've been kind of like drowning in some of that. So if you are someone who's already subscribed to me, I apologize for not posting regularly over the past few months, but this is my commitment to myself and to you to start doing this again. So this is Leo. Leo was a stray, landed here a few years ago. I think he might have been abused and maybe like thrown out of the car and like showed up. Um, so there's a couple of kitties that showed up on property that you might see in my garden videos. So what you're noticing here is some stuff that actually grew this year besides the weed problem. So this herb, I've actually got 2 boxes. So my goal here is, and you can see this is a piece of this grass. Okay. And it is extremely annoying and invasive, and which I've already said before, but one of the things that I found in trying to research this is that if you're not careful when you're pulling this up, it can break at the roots and it becomes a rhizome where that breakage, it just makes it grow even more. So that's what led me to this decision, and I'll just take you a little bit and show you a little bit about the progress here. So what's the cool thing is, I was in the like a box store like Lowe's a few months ago, and I noticed this very thick, very, very thick cardboard, and it's for it comes in a roll. Here's the roll. It comes in a roll, and I believe that it's for like construction, so they put this cardboard down on the floors to protect them. But what's nice about this is it's like super heavy duty. So I've been like hoarding cardboard, getting neighbors to give me cardboard. Every time I go to the landfill, I'm like, hey, is there a couple of pieces of cardboard? But what's great about this roll is it's a roll, right? So I can roll it down. So you can see that I've made, and I'm overlapping it. So here is an example of what I've started to do and ripping out this dead stuff. It's dead now because it's winter time, but it's easy to grow back. So if I go underneath some of this paper and cardboard that I put down while I didn't have time to deal with this, you can kind of see as soon as I pick this up all of how insane this is. I mean, it looks like no big deal right now because it's dead. However, you can see here, I don't know, is that working? Like how deep it goes. Now, supposedly the information online says it can go 6 feet. So what I'm doing here is I'm digging a trench and I'm going to put leaves as mulch on top of all of my cardboard. I'm guessing that this is going to be like a 2-year project where the soil is just really healthy enough that it's just going to grow reeds and grass. So I'm feeling like this is probably a 2-year project before I can actually grow things underneath what I'm doing. Another person that I met a few years ago told me about this technique that was kind of like lasagna. So it's like cardboard leaves, like making like layers of stuff. And then one of the other YouTube people that I have watched a little bit was kind of more of like a no-dig gardening. So basically, I've given up on doing any sort of raised bed, and I'm going to be moving into container gardening in certain places. And basically, where the broccoli is, I have a couple of patches that I think are going to be safe enough. So here I'm working on either putting metal in, or I have a bunch of glass bottles that I've thought about. So protecting this gully here, putting some leaves in, and maybe glass bottles on top to kind of mark that it's like a little gully. But what I'm trying to do here is to prevent this grass from growing this way, right? So you can see that underneath this just piece that I had put up, how invasive this becomes. And it's so annoying. So I'm digging up like literally a house footprint size, maybe 2,000 square, at least 1,000 square feet. Okay, so lots of stuff to burn, throw away, and then you can see here like how this works, right? So annoying. So over here, this is what I've been working on this morning, is digging up this section, and I have asparagus. Oh, the donkeys see me. So my asparagus is in its 4th year. So by next year, I'm actually hopefully have more than just a couple of stalks. I haven't cut this back yet, but you can see that the grass, like everything I was doing, trying to prevent this grass from getting in there, is still, yeah, yuck. Okay, so someone built this little box for me. I grew ginger in here, which was cool. So that needs to be weeded. This section here, basically what I've realized is that the grass is growing underneath So this, I've just yesterday was digging this part out, and you can even see some of this grass here. So if you're thinking about like how much, I filled up a wheelbarrow, and I had to pull up all of the irises that I had planted in a certain section that I'm going to replant. This is my nightmare right here. So basically, last winter, yeah, last winter is when I started this recognition, and I ripped out all of the wood of the raised beds, and they were rotten, and it's just like on a slope. It's like the space in between. I just don't want to have to mow anything, and I'm just trying to prevent as much of this from getting into the garden section. So at that time, I created oh, there's Hank. Hi, Hank. I've got a bunch of videos of Hank that I also need some just time to go through and upload those too. So if you're a Hank follower, stay tuned for that. Anyway, I made 3 piles here, like big mounds for strawberries, and the strawberries were growing, and then all of a sudden this grass, like literally within a couple of days, overgrew and killed all the plants. So that's when I realized that I had a problem that was much bigger than I realized. So the other problem here is, and I'm really trying to do things that are not plastic, but plastic is a supply, and we could get into a whole sustainability thing. I know, but it was something that I just had on hand that I needed to do quickly. And that was a mistake, because that plastic has since deteriorated, and now it needs to go into a trash. I think eventually this is going to be more flowers. I would love like marigolds and that kind of thing in this section to prevent some of the grass and the weeds from getting into the places where I can grow. And over this place right there, where it's a little brown, that's all daylilies and flowers. So I'm trying to create this space for flowers. Now, again, novice gardener, and trying to create kind of like a space that feels functional to me as I'm learning. And I like to like be an active learner. I like to just like try things out rather than research the hell out of something and then never get anything done. So the other thing that I have are some things that people have built for me, and then I made this thing here, which was to with the bamboo that I have on the property, to do vertical gardening. So that's one of the experiments that I have want to continue with squashes. And I'm going to relocate that. So right now, like digging all of this out was like a half day. You can see that these are just like pieces of cardboard that have been here at different times. And then I've been able to cover this section of cardboard with leaves. So the entire thing is going to be mulched with leaves from the property. And then I've started over here. This was another bed that I successfully grew some carrots in last year, the spring, same calendar year. But the grass is starting to come in from this side as well. So that's why this is a work in progress, that I'm going to create these trenches and then use this for the vertical gardening, which is working. And I'm working on clearing out some of the exterior trees that come up. And then the first few years I lived here, these pear trees were really productive. This one got knocked down in a storm a few years ago, and it's growing back really nicely. But I've also learned that I cannot have my fruit trees too tall. I'll go over to the other one um, over here. So you can see, you can see how tall they got. Let's see if I can. Where is it? Oh yeah, that's it. It got pretty tall. So I had a bunch of pears, but most of them just fell on the ground. So one of the things that I've learned about this is just kind of trial and error is good, and it's a lesson in just being patient with myself too, right? Um, Not comparing the start of what I'm trying to do to all these other people that have all these beautiful established gardens that maybe they've had for many years. So what's exciting is that when this flowers, it's just really beautiful. And then, oh, Leo. The other thing is I now have a better water source. Um, so I have a water source that I can actually have a garden back here. I have no idea how the previous owner watered the plants. So I've solved the water source, and you can just see there's junk, right? My hoses and things like that I just kind of have to put somewhere while I'm working. So the other thing that I did recently was the pear trees and the plum trees have been flowering. One year I was able to see peaches, the peach tree, see peaches, but then it got hot and it didn't rain, and then they all died. So I've been learning, cutting everything back because I think the trees are doing too much work for the flowers. So that's one of the things that I've been working on. And then another project is to get deer proof, and the goal here is to add this fun bamboo to the post so that I can put the deer netting here, because the deer were jumping in to the garden. The other really cool thing that I've seen is that dragonflies are really good for your garden, and you can string fishing line from sections so that they have a place to hang out. So I've got definitely some projects to be able to share updates with you. Now, whether or not those are going to be weekly, I'm not quite sure right now, but there is a goal to have a functioning garden this year. The cool thing is I actually have another space that I'm working on that is more flowers, and it's where I'm going to put some of the container garden. But I'll save that for next time because it's a slightly different location from where I'm standing right now. Thanks so much, and Happy New Year. Here's to all of us getting closer to nature in 2025 and figuring out growing some of our own food, eating healthy, and making better decisions about how we spend our time, how we spend our money, who we spend our time with, whether that be ourselves, just ourselves and the animals or whatever. Okay? All right. See you in the new year.